Hey everybody, this is March 12th, 2024. We are across the pitch doing a quick halftime show for Pachuca versus Union. Unfortunately for Philly fans, it's right now 1-0. As always, I am Mike Barrera. I'm joined today by Jose Nunez, as always, as well. But we have a special guest, Mark Kalkenberg from Kalken Sports. Mark, thank you for joining us. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy Tuesday night to help us out here. But right now, like I said, Union are down 1-0 after a 5-minute foul from Kai Wagner led to a PK. Mark, you're the guest. I'll go to you first.
Hold
How
up.
are your thoughts?
Hold up.
Yep.
Offsides just called a goal back against Pachuca, so it could have been 2-0.
Oh my God! See, I don't have the TV in front of me, but go ahead, Mark. Let me see your thoughts real quick from today.
I mean, it's not. So my initial reaction is like, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of debate in terms of like, well, was it a foul? Was it a foul? Honestly, I think it is. You're stepping on the boot, and especially when the elbow comes into the back and the arm extends. I mean, there's really not much to complain about. I think, I hate to be super critical of Kai, but you just got to know better. In the replay, Glesnes and Lowe are in a fantastic position anyway. They have the cross covered. Mm-hmm. And anytime your shoulder is behind a attacker, you just don't need to make that foul. I think it was covered anyway. Tough start, but not the worst start of all time, because here's the thing, obviously coming into the game, it's almost like a 0-0 tie at this point. Like, all they need to do is just score a goal. And I think that's why, even despite going down 1-0, it wasn't as like urgency. There wasn't a ton of urgency that needed to be there. They know that all they need to do is score a goal. So it was like pretty calm throughout the first half. It wasn't as attacking as desperate as you'd imagine. But that's kind of the take right off the bat.
No, I agree. You could be in a lot worse position. As Jose just kind of mentioned, they almost had that second goal right now. Earlier in the match, Andre Blake had the save of the game so far, keeping it 1-0. Jose, what are your thoughts? Do you share the same optimism as Mark, or how are you feeling right now?
I mean, Mark's not wrong by any stretch of the imagination, right? It is technically 0-0. All the Union have to do is score one, match them on the day, and they go through, right, because of the away goal situation. But from what I have been able to watch, and I'm looking over my shoulder here, these first 49 minutes. They just scored?
They just scored.
Damn it.
Yep.
All right. Well,
okay,
that makes
so this changes the whole halftime show now, but go ahead.
Yeah. It makes it very difficult. So, listen, I guess we can go down a laundry list of things, right? I personally maybe don't match up with what Mark is saying. I think even the stand-in referees, never mind the other the regular referees, the PRSA referees in MLS, whether that's an indication of how bad the referees are in MLS. I don't think they call that a foul. I think we've seen plenty of those from Kai throughout the many seasons that he's been in town. So for what it's worth, if the Union, next point, if the Union don't go after Pedraza, the midfielder, the second half, I am going to be unbelievably disappointed. The guy's on a yellow at this point.
Sure.
So they need to try to filter things through him, make him make decisions, make him make mistakes. Gastag, I don't know where he is. I don't know where he's doing. He seems to be already in a different planet.
So this is part of what we talked about on was it Sunday, Jose, right when we last went on across the pitch, is that we were worried about Jim maybe putting Bedoya in to start the match or getting too complicated or weird with the formation. And I feel like we saw already at Chester, this formation didn't work, right, with that kind of double tens with Quinn and Daniel. Why not just kind of go back to what put Marcus Anderson up top or have Julian start the match and play him for 45 minutes at least? It just seems like they kind of went with what – go ahead.
They're reviewing the goal, I believe, right now, the second goal.
Look, we're getting live coverage during the halftime show. I mean, Mark, I know you maybe not follow the Union as closely as you normally would, but do you agree with this formation in the little you've seen of the Union so far?
I mean, so you're right. I don't – watch game to game, and this is where I kind of lean on you guys a lot of the time. I think from my coaching background, I think you got to have a lot of things in your repertoire, and I think some of the things I've heard is we don't expect to have possession a lot. We're just a really dangerous team on the counterattack and things like that, and it's like, well, whether you're playing from ahead, you need to be able to possess the ball and ice a game. And we've seen like leads been lost and things like that. But like also, I mean, you just see the way a lot of teams, and it's not just Pachuca, they like set up shop right around the 18-yard box. They look to pick you apart. And from being kind of a newcomer in terms of like really focusing more on the Union, it's not like they don't have players to do that style if they need to, and they will, especially if this goal stands. They've shown it, like when I think right at maybe 42 minutes and beyond, like when they're pinning them back, when Glesnes and Lowe are basically within the half yard line, in where they can high press and keep them there and get possession higher and create chance after chance after chance instead of letting the ball go all the way back and win the ball and then keep this like back and forth stuff is just kind of tough, especially when, you're not getting as many chances as you probably should, especially in a point now where you need to get chances because you can't rely on the McGlynn range.
No, I agree. And I feel like
I mean, strike to get in from there. So, and then miscues on these, like the 24th minute I have down, like the Kai Wagner, they set up shop, we're ready to go, going to do this free kick, and then he just like passes it basically out of bounds.
Yeah.
Like man, I don't know.
Jose, I mean, you need some. You need some chances now. We need something to be mixed up in lineup. Who do you bring? Do you bring subs in right now at halftime and try to enter the second half with something different?
Listen, let me get this out of my system, right? Why Bedoya started this game, I get. Maybe the leadership, trying to settle the team, bring them all together, though. I'm looking at Twitter, which obviously isn't the greatest, guiding star in terms of conversations, but absolutely true. This team seems so like pieced apart and that they're not stringing passes together. Is it the fact that they're playing against a Mexican team in a stadium that's full rocking and whatnot? Maybe. I like to think that maybe they did that against the Parisa, and that they have some experience. But Bedoya is starting, man. Idrisi doesn't even have a first line of defense to go up against because he's already past Bedoya. So going up against Nate Harriel is the first line of defense he's getting in. At that point, he's already basically at the 18. So at that point, you're not doing anything to slow him down. Why Jesus Bueno didn't start, I don't know. Go ahead, Rafael. What do you want to tell the friends on?
Go ahead.
Come here. What do you want to tell our friends on our show?
Is he upset that
he's watching Cars?
I mean, honestly, I think I'd rather watch Cars at this point than this Union match. But see, that's the thing, Jose, is that we said the same exact thing on Sunday. Why is Bedoya going to start in this situation? Again, I would have liked to see Quinn back on the right. We've seen how well Nathan and Quinn have played together so far this season. Maybe start Marcus Anderson up top and then bring Julian in the second half. And then you at least can bring Bedoya in as a sub, which is we've seen him do well so far. That's the thing. So far this year, everybody has been in agreement. Bedoya has been better in a substitution role. Also, this grass has been absolutely awful. These players have been slipping around like crazy. The ball is not rolling much. You already have Bedoya slower on that side than you probably would like. And the grass is likely not doing him any favors. So, again, I didn't agree with the penalty call necessarily. But I feel like the Union didn't do anything to help themselves out with this formation either. I'm going to bring up some comments right here too. Joshua says, the formation sucks. Too many players wide open. Dupadelf says, thanks for the distraction, gents. This is difficult to watch. It's not easy. And by the way, it was great meeting Dupadelf the other day. I appreciate him, meeting him at the river end.
Listen,
so, go ahead.
One thing I do want to add here is that, even if this game ends up 2-0, let's just, if the Union lose this match, let it be at this 2-0. Put up at least a decent second half for this team to go out with some sort of decency, some sort of pride. Because right now, honestly, I don't know how you feel good about leaving the competition in this round. Yes, Pachuca is a wonderful foe, a very strong foe, but this gives you very little to no hope onto the rest of the season. And yes, it's super early, and Jim will be the first one to tell you we're only X amount of games into the season, etc. But you don't lose to Pachuca this way, this embarrassingly, and then expect to and turn it around and win an MLS Cup. At least I don't believe. So again, freaking 40 some games away from even getting to that point. But nonetheless, man, like if the Union are going to go out in this competition, which would kill me because this is the competition I wanted them to focus on, at least go out with some pride. It can't be 4-0 or 3-0 away from home. That would be so embarrassing.
Well, okay, let's say, hypothetically speaking, and Mark, I'll ask you, let's say the Union come back and win this game, or at least draw 2-2, which would be enough, I believe, to advance.
Well, yeah.
I mean, what is your optimism for the next round? Because we've already seen this before with Saprissa. We already said Pachuca's probably going to kick our ass for the way we played, and then we came here, and now we're down 2-0. I mean, is there any optimism at all if we even get out of this round?
I mean, so we've kind of like previewed that, and I think maybe we got a little bit ahead of ourselves here. But I mean, I personally, so a little background, I actually really love the Costa Rican League. One of my buddies kind of plays there. So I actually really like Herediano. I think they've developed a lot of really good young talent, and they feature typically young sides. But that being said, like this was going to be a speed bump. They were probably going to be able to let off the gas a little bit because like Herediano, like Saprissa, really good Costa Rican team. But I mean, they were always going to be looking ahead to the next Liga MX that they were going to face. I mean, at this point, I mean, going back to the formation thing, I just think like the control just isn't there. Like they need to, like the Union just need to be able to possess the ball within the attacking half and try to like pick teams apart. Like I hear all the time as an outsider, I hear all the time like how great Jack McGlynn is at passing the ball. And it's like, well, if we got guys that can pass the ball, we got a true six. It's like there's no reason why we can't win the ball, possess it, and keep attacking. We got Quinn, great attacker, a whole slew of guys who can just like find the net. And again, like this back-to-back or like this end-to-end stuff is just not sustainable, especially now where, you know, optimism is just going to keep slipping. I mean, it's starting to look pretty bad now that it's 2-0. But I mean, if they can score within the first 15 minutes of this next half, it's certainly not like panic mode. But I mean, the longer that first goal comes, I mean, it's just going to look worse and worse. And like what Jose said, if like, I mean, God forbid they let in another one, then it's like they better be fighting because, I mean, there's no reason not to. That game suspended on the weekend. They should have fresh legs. I know it's altitude, but I mean, there's a lot of things stacked against them. I know it's not easy, but I mean, early on, this is a tone setter. And
yeah, absolutely. No, Jose, I mean, I know you mentioned the long season ahead, and there is, I guess, some silver lining. If the Union get knocked out tonight, we can focus more so on MLS. But as you can see from the fans, they're not very happy right now with the performance. Of course, people want to get Ua out of this lineup entirely, switch the formation, put Gazak back up there. But there is some optimism that we are a second-half team. But in terms of what we've seen so far, it's been now 3 years we've been in the CONCACAF Champions League, Cup, whatever. This seems to be the same old Union creeping its way back into our minds, into our thoughts here with how they're performing. And what's the pressure then on Curtin if we come out of this with a loss? Because at this point, it's just the same old story, is it not? Because that's how I'm feeling right now. That's what I'm like. Oh, that's so Union. Again, we're going to embarrass ourselves with choke when we need to be on our A game.
Yeah, and you know, it's not even a question as I approach some of these comments, which I question that Chris Big White Smith. I'm a little nervous about what that Big White actually means, but alas, we move. Would Carranza have been a difference here? Maybe. I mean, I don't know, man. This is a guy who thrives in these competitions, has been in these types of games, having played at Banfield in Argentina, but nowhere to be seen today. And I get it. Maybe he's still recovering from an injury, but man, I think he comes back on the second half. Like, if he doesn't start the second half, I'm sort of like questioning whether Curtin wants to actually win this game. I'm not sure.
That's a pretty
but in terms of
yeah,
but in terms of pressure on Jim, it's absolutely none, man. He just signed a new contract last year. He's good. He's comfortable. The press conference after this game when we get on is going to be the same old, it's a tough team. They're good. And it's like, yeah, absolutely. Pachuca's very good, but nonetheless, man, like the Union are making them look so good. And if I hear about this altitude once again, having grown up in Bolivia and La Paz being, 11,000 feet above sea level, like I'm going to lose it. So don't want to hear about that anymore. Though I do want to comment on the commentary. Sure. We're getting a small taste of George Metellus here without George Metellus in terms of the little story. I did know about that story in terms of the Viagra. That's a legendary story with players playing in La Paz. That's a way to open up airways a little bit more. But nonetheless,
are you suggesting that Paul Russian should grab some blue pills out of the closet and cut them up for the players?
It could be Hims, which is the hip podcast sponsor nowadays. Just have every one of those players take a whole Hims before the second half, and who knows, maybe they grow something that can actually put the ball in the back of the net, man. Because right now this is a very, very bad look for a team, Mike. Imagine how much worse this could have been. And I'm agitated because it's really ugly. How much worse this could have been if the Seattle game would have actually happened.
Or you could argue that they would have been a little bit less rusty as they are tonight, because at least they would have had the game in between. I don't know. I'm playing devil's advocate here.
That goes back to Jim, though, Mike, because Jim was very open during the pre-match, the match day -1 press conference of, it's somewhat fortunate that we got that extra rest. It's like, okay, man,
so he shot himself in the foot right there.
You just wrote it on your tombstone there in a way. You know what I mean? Like, not doing yourself any favors.
I think what bothers me right now is this organization. I know the grass sucks, but to Mark, I think you mentioned you have to have plan Bs. You have to have other options out there. And it just seems like if the Union aren't in their diamond formation, they don't have a backup plan. And that's something that our co-host Dave Miller has been chanting for years. This isn't anything new. The Union don't have a strong backup plan. We did briefly with the three in the back when we had Lowe, Elliott, and Glessens back there. And we thought, oh my God, Curtin is finally involved into a coach with two formations. But again, that didn't work out. We saw that against Miami and other teams last year. And now at this point, we have this 2-10 situation with Ua up top. And again, we are not finding the back of net. But this is now our third game. We're just struggling to score or get anything going offensively. I mean, it's a bit disheartening, to say the least. Any thoughts, though, Mark, on what you would, as an outsider, do to change up the formation or lineup, or how would you approach the second half?
I mean, it's kind of funny. I mean, we call it so the 2-10s type of thing. That's a famous thing from the 2007, I think, AC Milan team. So like a 4-3-3 narrow. I love the formation. I actually used it for high school here in North Carolina. And the feature of it is that the 10s, you just control the possession in the middle of the field, and then you break out like wherever you need to from there. Like the wing or those 10s can go to wingers if need be. So like the lack of control and the lack of possession within the attacking half is a concern. So, having honestly, if they're far more comfortable with the 4-4-2 diamond, with the roaming 10 that can really connect everything, I think that's where Gazdag can, like, if he's hyperactive, can connect that midfield 3 with the attacking 2, they can find themselves back in. I know that's the most familiar lineup to them. Like you said, I feel like they just got to go back to their bread and butter and really press it, because it's go time now. Like, first 15 minutes, if that goal doesn't come, I know there's plenty of things that can happen within 80 minutes and beyond, but I mean, we'll all feel more comfortable if it's 2-1 by the 75th minute.
That's why, to Gregory's point here, haven't been able to get anything done offensively, and that Kai's free kick was embarrassing. So that I think he's referencing when Kai just kicked it to nobody. And for me, I was saying on Twitter, like, the grass is sloppy. Just get it into the box. Try to create anything. You're more likely to score that way than just trying to passing it, 10 feet to your left and hoping for something. Carranza is in. So apparently, Jim Curtin does want to win the match. I just want to make that clear for everybody watching. Apparently, we're trying to win this game now. Has the game started? I don't have the TV in front
It's
of me.
about to. Gentlemen, Can we,
Okay.
Mike? I don't know what your life looks like after the match. We want to do a quick 15 after.
I was going. Maybe we can do a quick one.
Yeah,
if you want.
sure.
Why
Quick
not?
15 after.
Okay.
So everybody
Post-game show.
watching, all 94 people watching, quick 15 after the match. We'll put it up on Twitter again. All right.
All right. Sounds good, guys. We'll be in touch. Go Union.
Let's see what happens.